And you're talking about the psyche of the nation. Does the failure lie when the executive runs wild? Despite the fact that you have put this in the Constitution, it's there. There's chapter 6, in integrity, but nobody seems to follow it. Is it a reflection of the people, like Nyanza is saying, or what is it?
You see, the people of Kenya said we want a certain type and character of leaders. And therefore they elect Nyanza, they elect Osotsi to go and represent them. And that is the spirit of chapter 6. Now, the question should be Osotsi into public office. What are they doing with their leadership in that office? For example, in ensuring that aspects of this constitution is used. I like what Nyanza has described, because Nyanza is talking about Article 201 of the Constitution, about public finance and prudent and, what's called prudent and responsible use of public money. Should the president be gallivanting all over the country, trying to do political, political planning and all that for 2027, with all the cost that comes with it? Is that prudent use of public resources? It is not, in my view. And therefore, going to the bigger question, it is actually the failure of leadership in the constitution. Because, you see, Trevor, and I've said it many times, I think even in your show here, that you can even write yourself the most beautiful constitution in the world. But if it's not being implemented or being followed, if the letter and even the spirit of that constitution or the law is not being followed, that constitution may not even be worth the paper it's written on. Because it's a leadership that can actually inspire. Let me draw some parallels. The American Constitution was written in what, 1877, if I'm not wrong?
76.
Yes, thereabouts, by just a group of individuals who are actually rivals, by the way. But they met in Philadelphia and decided, no, we want to write a constitution for the country. It is probably one of the shortest constitutions in the world. I think it's 1,400 words. Of course, if you had with the other 50 constitution of the individual states. But they leave the spirit and letter of that constitution. A country like UK does not even have a written constitution, despite having colonized us, and purported to have actually given us a constitution written in the Lancaster House Conference in London. But they don't have a constitution. But when it comes to failure of leadership, there is what they call the constitutional principle of resignation. And if you follow the last event, the last prime ministers of the UK, for example, you had a very brilliant man, David Cameron, because he felt that when Britain was leaving the European Union, he wasn't a good captain enough, and he resigned. Then came the other lady, then came the other lady, and then came, all this. So the spirit of a constitution must be reflected in the leadership of a country. It's how we follow it. For example, the finance bill was rejected by Kenyans. What will a responsible leadership do? It will say, okay, this bill clearly does not reflect the wishes of the people. Because again, that's what Article 1 is all about. That all sovereign power and authority vests in the people, that they can exercise it directly or indirectly through their elected representatives. Now, when the elected representatives pass bad laws that do not reflect the wishes of the people, that's how they should either resign, and we put it in the Constitution. You can actually resign. And I still wonder what Osotsi and Nyanza are doing in the Senate when they are clearly admit that Parliament has been captured, has failed. Now we see a president who is not even accounting for us his promises of 2022, going around campaigning about 2027, and of course capturing a man who has a political constituency that can actually disrupt Parliament. Because that's what President William Ruto is actually doing. President William Ruto, maybe in his wisdom or lack of it, decided that, for me to sit comfortable, I need to bring in Raila Amolo Odinga, because Raila Amolo Odinga has sycophantic following. So let me bring him so that, and by the way, he's not being honest to Raila, because Raila will not get the AUC position.
Why?
But William Ruto will say, oh, simuliona mimi nilijaribu. Si unajua tulipanga kupeleka mzee nini almost sound like a basa. So si mnajua ama namna gani my friends. Si mnajua tulipanga.
So you think he will not get the AUCC?
Lakini sio mimi nilikataa. So and that will be his argument.
Yeah. So you think Raila will not get the AUCC?
No, he won't. He's not even qualified.
Okay.
Look at the qualifications. For you to be a chair of EAC, I know it is a designated position, yeah, for the Eastern African region.
Yes.
Yeah, it is East African region, but in terms of qualification, it doesn't. The Djibouti guy will beat Raila, and let me tell you, I'm making a political prophecy, and I hope you can invite me when the election is done. It won't happen. Baba ataoshwa. In fact, as they say, as you say in the Luo, they will nango Baba.
Okay, everyone goes, yes. I want us to shift into the conversation.
No.
But I'll give you.
I think it's not fair for distinguished personality like Ekuru to make such pronouncement on TV.
Yeah.
That Raila is going to lose. I mean, on what basis is he saying that?
I'm talking about qualifications.
No, I mean, it's not fair at all.
What is your position?
The campaigns have started. The elections are going to be in February. Raila, he's campaigning.
Yeah.
And he has been campaigning.
And what is your preference?
And I think Raila has his own networks in Africa, away from even Kenyan government. I have been with him to West Africa, and I can attest to that.
Okay.
And I think it is not prudent for you to say that because of one or two things that Raila is going to lose.
So in your
Let
view?
us all support Raila, because if Raila wins, it's not Raila winning. Okay. It is Kenya winning.
So in your view,
so we must look at it as a Kenyan agenda and not an individual agenda for Raila Odinga.
Okay, so what is your prophecy? He has said that he will lose. What do you say?
Well, my position is that Raila is going to put in his very best. He's going to lobby around. He's has already lobbied a number of countries, and is continuing to lobby many countries. Yeah. And I think Raila is going to win this AU position. Okay. Let us not politicize this process.
What do you mean not politicize?
Your view is just as valid as his. He says he's going to win, he says he's going to lose.
Yeah.
It's either win or lose.
It's a prediction.
But so it's a prediction. We'll see what happens in
but you see,
realistic. I want to be more realistic.
But he should tell us the reasons. You cannot just say he's going to lose the Djibouti guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very unfair statement.
But I've just said about qualifications.
Very unfair statement.
What is your reason for his winning?
Yeah.
Raila is a formidable African Pan-Africanist. And I have said that I have traveled with him in West Africa, and I can attest to his capability, his networks. Yeah. And I think that's sufficient for him to win.
Well, let me be more optimistic.
Even without a serious campaign.
While we wish Raila well as a Kenyan, I want us to be realistic on diplomacy and what sort of election is going through. This election is by presidents, and it is more of application of diplomacy in the country, and the main leader of the diplomatic mission in that particular campaign is the president himself. So what does the president do? Instead of going to seek other presidents or even get into the phone calls with them, he chooses not even Musalia, but the permanent secretary, the principal secretary, and a team of other Kenyans. Yes. Then a coach classmate, you know, and a team of other Kenyans. You know, this is, you know, when you, that's why you heard Museveni say, some young man showed up in my state house. Probably Museveni was expecting his president. So this is something which must be done by the president himself, or Raila and even Kalonzo, who also have a lot of networks. They all should be campaigning for him. And I want to say that if really Kenya wants Raila to go, they must go beyond Ruto running to Nyanza. He should have been in West Africa, not Nyanza. Yeah.
Which starts next week, because I believe they're supposed to meet in China, more than 30 heads of
Yeah.
state
Well,
will be meeting.
if Kenya wants to be serious about it, they should not look down upon the opponents. You know, they should not underrate them. We should make sure, let me just finish.
I have to respond.
We should
You're the one who
make
started this
sure,
conversation.
we should make sure that now that he's in the race and he has done the paperwork, it is a decision of the president, and it has to be 2/3. Therefore, in status, I didn't see a Francophone president. That was very telling diplomatically. When a president sends a minister or sends a principal secretary, that is a diplomatic communication that we are not happy with this. When the president of Uganda blesses and curses at the same time, you must know the message he has sent.
So what is your prediction?
My prediction is
win or lose.
Well, I don't want to say we'll win or lose, but I'm saying President Ruto has a duty to do. It will depend on him whether Raila will
win or lose, because God willing, if only in February, I'll call this same party.
And how the other presidents of Africa view Kenya and view President
Ruto.
Win or lose,
win or lose.
Yeah, just make a prediction.
Right now, really, I don't have sufficient numbers.
You know, Trevor, before Sosi comes,
let me give you a prediction.
Yes.
Right now, the Djibouti person is leading with a number of governments. He has 29 while we have 18. Right now. Right now, the Djibouti...
I think my colleagues here who are all lawyers are arguing without facts.
Yeah.
You see, when you say that the Djibouti guy is leading by 29, simply because 29 states are Francophone, I think that's incorrect, because I know there are a significant number of Francophone countries which are going to support Raila. And in fact, I've seen the argument in some of the analysis in the media saying that the Francophone, Anglophone divide is what will determine. That is not correct. There are other dynamics in diplomacy which can be exploited to make Raila win. As I've said, Raila has, even aside to Kenyan government, he has his own network in Africa.
Okay.
Remember, most of the presidents who are currently serving.
Who are those?
But they should have come for the launch.
Most of the presidents
who are those?
Who are currently serving have worked with Raila in the opposition.
Who are those?
I know, like the president of Ivory Coast, they've served together in the opposition movement in Africa, the president of Zambia, the president of Congo, and many others. So I think when you argue, you must argue with facts.
Okay.
Yes, there are 29 Francophone countries, but that does not mean that all of them will support the candidate from Djibouti. When you say that there was when you say there was no representation from Francophone countries in East Africa in the event in the State House, but if you watch keenly, there was a statement from Rwanda presented by a representative of President Kagame. There was a statement from Burundi presented by the representative of President of Burundi, and he was very emphatic that their position, they were going to support Raila.
Fine.
So, you know, we still have a lot of time.
In law, what he's describing is what we call submissions. You can make your submissions, just like that drama we saw in State House. Those were submissions. It does not necessarily translate to a favorable judgment.
And to a vote.
Or to a vote. It does not. And for me,
either way,
and for me, honestly, and I honestly think also, I hope you can take this message, you people should stop lying to Baba, because I think you're lying to Raila Odinga on this issue. You can even see now this conversation is almost about obsession with personalities, and that's why in the at 14 years of the Constitution, you know, we are still obsessed with the personalities and individuals, you know, in leadership. But we are not looking at what is the outcome, what is transformational about those leaders. So, and by the way, they will not tell Baba that even Ruto's image in the continent and globally is a negative effect on whether actually Baba will be elected or not. And let me tell you, I will say it here, and let me tell you, I will say it here, yeah, Trevor, even in terms of the global perspectives, our president's image globally is a negative effect on Baba. And that's why, for me, I like Baba. I mean, he's my friend, you know. But I don't want people to lie to him that you'll get this position when I know the factors. Yeah. Because we lawyers work on either evidence directly or circumstantial evidence. Yes. And I think circumstantial evidence shows actually Baba is being just propped and is being used politically, you know, so that tomorrow somebody can come and say, unajua nyinyi watu wa Nyanza, si nilisema hivi, tulifanya hivi, lakini sio mimi.
All right, let's go to Nyanza now because he's there for a 4-day trip as we wind up on this conversation. But let's bring up your feedback first. See what you're saying online at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Let's bring that up on screen and see before we talk about President Ruto's 4-day trip in Nyanza that started yesterday, and we'll speak about that shortly. Sir Nixon Dugire says leaders who hold themselves accountable to nobody ought not to be trusted by anybody. Accountability is the measure of a leader's height. Okay? Lazaro says ex-Samburu governor conviction can be just an isolated case or DPP trying to prove worthiness to the emerging Gen Z. Dixon says, I think former DPP Nurdin Haji should be grilled why he wanted to withdraw this Lennon Kulal case. He administered miscarriage of justice. Okay? You see the next one that comes up. Bob Otieno says charges against former Governor Moses Lennon Kulal by EACC Kenya is a mere stunt PR because they haven't nailed anyone from the last regime when former President Uhuru admitted publicly 2 billion shillings is being lost on a daily basis. Dixon again says we are not serious as a country. Senate summons former governor of a textile factory who happens to be a senator. A case was dismissed on forgery because of DCI obtaining evidence in a hotel of a victim choice. Surely. What's all this? Okay? Peter says the Senate and Parliament have failed to carry out their oversight roles. Let Honorable Manzo and Honorable Sotsi accept that they have failed us and resign as early as now. Okay?
By the way, they have said it.
Jeff Muita says Azimio leader Raila Odinga betrayed the Gen Zs when he went to bed with the executive, and to make it worse, he offers us the likes of Oparanya and Joho while we have well-educated, corrupt, free people in ODM. Jasper says our greatest problem is in not obeying our constitution and accountability. Gen Z had us almost on the nick of doing just that, but Raila gave the forces of impunity a new lease of life, and for that, he should lose at the AU. Okay. Godi says in Kenya, anything goes. Raila Odinga, who has been fiercely and vehemently castigating government, is now part of the mechanisms that makes the wheels of government move. The constitution seems not to be on silent suspension. Okay. Let's take in the last one here. Remy Butia says Kenya politics has been pegged on ethnic identities above everything else. The reasons why the oneness, the rapprochement, the unity eludes the possible Kenyan nation. Okay. Let's bring up Sotsi now. The president is in Nyanza for a 4-day trip. There's been a lot of speculation. Will ODM work with UDA in 2027?
Well, Trevor, the president has a right, just like any Kenyan, to travel to any part of this country and to express himself in whichever manner he wants to express himself. That is his right under the Constitution. But I do not think the president is doing something good for this country. Because we have a lot of issues that it needs to be fixed, particularly the demands by Gen Zs. And I don't think with this calm that is there in the country, it's the right thing for him to do, to start running around on rooftops and making pronunciation and relaunching projects which he has launched previously. It doesn't sit well with Kenyans, and I think it's annoying Kenyans, and even more. So my view is that the president should calm down, sit and work for Kenyans, and deliver on the promises he made to Kenyans without necessarily running up and down. You see, for the last few days, he's been to almost every part of this country, relaunching projects, making political pronunciation, and we have a pile of issues waiting for his action on his desk in State House. So I am among the people who are saying that President Ruto, please sit down and work for Kenyans. We, as Kenyans, we want to see the issues that affect us being addressed. The issues raised by agencies. He made a pronunciation that he was going to deal with them. For example, he said he was going to reduce the number of advisors. We now see he's now appointing advisors. So that is the first issue. The second issue is that I do not want to associate what is happening in Nyanza with the outcome of 2027 election. You know, politics in this country is very dynamic. He may go to Nyanza today, he's welcomed, the people are there, but 2027 may be a different ballgame altogether. You never know the dynamics of politics. So that's why I think it's wise that he spends more time delivering on the promises he made to Kenyans.
Okay.
And as ODM, you know, we have been portrayed as being part of government, just simply because a few of our leaders were appointed into government and accepted to join in government.
And a few more expected.
Yeah, but the position is that when parties come together, legally, they need to sign coalition agreement. We do not have any coalition agreement with Kenya Kwanza or UDA. And that you can confirm with the registrar of political parties. There is none. So when you say ODM is in government, how?
But they are.
How are we
Let
in
it finish. I'll give you a chance.
We are not in government.
Just write it down.
It is Joho, Paranya, Wandai, and Badi, and a school who are in government. And they had to resign from their positions before they joined government.
Yeah.
Our position is very clear. We are going to continue playing our oversight role. We are going to continue play our role as the minority in Parliament, and Senator Manzo is here, can attest to that.
Will you leave there?
When we had the issue of Kawira Mwangaza coming, it is the ODM people who mobilize themselves to say, no, this is not right. This is not right. We say this is not right. And we will continue doing that.
Will you leave the Azimio coalition? Because the other members are very uncomfortable with your presence.
You know, let me tell you one thing. I think we need to be very objective. Raila has not gone to AU. That is one. Elections are going to be there in February. And after election is when Raila will transition to AU. So this thing of saying, oh, he has to cede space for so and so, I think is not here there. And by the way, you know, Raila has not stopped anyone from becoming a leader of opposition in this country.
Okay.
The leader of opposition should come out clearly in the public.
Okay.
When you agitate for people's issues, when you put the government under checks and balances, it will emerge itself.
All right.
So I think one is premature to try and say that because Raila is campaigning to go to AU, then he has exited before even elections are done.
Okay.
I think we need to.
I have a question.
We need to allow him. No. Let me also finish this point.
Yeah.
I think we need to be patient until February when elections are done, which we are seriously hopeful that Raila is going to win.
Okay.
Once he goes to Addis,
then
the transition process can. But what is happening now is totally unnecessary.
Okay.
There is no vacuum in Azimio.
All right.
And even the people who are saying they want to take over Azimio, apart from Kalonzo, they are not even members of Azimio Council.
Okay.
Eugene Wamalo is not a member. Kioni is not a member. So how are they going to make decisions without being members of Azimio Council?
Let's hear Manzo.
First of all, I want to say that, you know, there are two main registered coalitions in the country, Kenya Kwanza and Azimio. And the only time you dissolve a coalition is when all the other parties have resigned from that coalition. So long as we don't have a letter or letters, then that coalition remains. What I want to say is that right now Raila is campaigning to go to African Union. War and to Ruto if Raila doesn't go to African Union, because you still run again. And even he is free to go to African Union and resign in 2027 and come and vie. So nothing stops Raila Odinga doing all these things and the ODM doing what it has done. But also the remaining bit of Azimio carries on, with the coalition as Azimio, and has organized itself very well, is rebranding, and we are going to have, a formidable force in 2027 to take on Ruto. I want to say that when Ruto rushes to Nyanza, instead of going around Africa and talking to friends, President Zuma is friends, because he's a President who will vote. And they will vote freely. And they have to have been given reasons to vote for Raila Odinga. If they haven't, and the government of Kenya hasn't bothered, you see, when a principal secretary of Kenya can only talk to a principal secretary of another country. A minister for foreign affairs in Kenya can only talk to a minister of another foreign affairs in another country. And the president of the Republic of Kenya can engage another president of the Republic of Kenya. The biggest question is what our friends have indicated. What is Kenya's perception in the world? First of all, Kenya is seen very well. What he's trying to do is try to sort out his local politics. You see African Union. It could be a similar thing in Djibouti, but clearly every reasonable president of Africa knows what Kenya is trying to do. If Raila had become president, probably Kenya would not have had a candidate to African Union, or would have had a different or more amicable candidate there.
Okay.
So when you look at that in the current politics, even when the president goes to Nyanza and just going to make promises, first of all, he has used a lot of taxpayers' money to do that. Hosting a president is a very expensive affair. In fact, the money used to host a president can repair quite a number of roads which were destroyed during the floods. Yeah. So I don't think he's going to offer any solution. And any development done in Nyanza was done by President Kibaki and Raila when he was Prime Minister. The rest have done very little. They only implemented the flagship projects which were there. And I want to say not only Nyanza, the rest of country, including, I saw Kurosei, a road which is impassable. The rest of country is suffering. There is underdevelopment. No contractors are not completing their works. And I think the president should sit in State House and deliver. So if not so, be the first one to resign. Before Parliament resigns, then the president should resign.
Is your party going to call for a new round of protests?
Well, it's one of the things in the offing. If we have the same finance bill coming back, we are going to have protests in the country.
Okay.
That finance bill cannot be brought back to the House to be repeated the same way now that Raila is going to African Union. Okay. No way. All Kenyans will not accept.
All right. Ekuru, this trip by the president to Nyanza, is it the political comprehensive insurance for 2027?
You see, it's a campaign, obviously. And what William Ruto is actually doing by going to Nyanza and by ditching the Kikuyus, the Murima, because those are the facts of our politics. People talk in terms of regions and tribes and all that. So William Ruto knows very well that he has lost favor with the mountain, especially because of his squabbles with his deputy. And they are not telling Kenyans the truth, and I think that's part of the dishonesty we are discussing, Trevor, and I hope we can discuss it again. Well, I know for a fact, and I can tell you this, that when people go into political coalitions, they actually divide they agree, when we win, I'll give you this, I'll give you that, and then betrayal kicks in. And that's why you always see there's a fallout, okay? Senator Osotsi here, honestly, Senator, why can't we just be honest to Kenyans? when your party leader is in dalliance, is in bed with a failing regime, like this one, surely how do you come here to the national television and say that ODM is not in government? Of course ODM is in government. And that's why you can even see the turnaround. So can I explain to you? Can I explain to you?
I'll give you a chance to respond.
And I actually challenge Trevor here and Citizen. Play for us the videos by Hassan Joho, Oparanya, Wandai, and Badi. What they said on national television.
Actually sometimes back.
Yeah? What they said about this regime, and now they are there, and these are leaders. These are leaders in ODM. So to come to national television and lie that ODM is not in government, and then secondly, the dalliance between the party leader of ODM with the president of the Republic of Kenya, and especially, it compromises the whole question of, of checking government. And ODM, by the way, in fact, I dare ask the question, and I hope Osotsi will respond to this. Why were those 4 seats redistributed among Azimio members? Even this excuse that, we don't have a coalition with them, it's an excuse. But if you really mean well, you cannot claim to be a member of this coalition, and then all of a sudden, when the positions to serve in government, come through, you only look at your own house, the ODM. Secondly, Trevor, Osotsi will not admit, and I challenge him, there is opposition within opposition. There is disquiet in ODM.
Big time. Big time.
We've seen some members of the ODM actually oppose this dalliance with the, and someone like Osotsi, of course, in him, because he's a loyalist to Baba, he will not come to national television and say, no, I don't like that, because maybe tomorrow in Viga he will not be electable because he needs Baba to do it. And that's the reality of our politics. So what we are saying today, we are seeing a repeat of 2018 handshake. That is exactly what is happening. And why is that happening? Because we have a government that lied to Kenyans. We have a president that lied to Kenyans about the promises. And because we have got a very fakeless opposition, fakeless leadership that could not check on the government. But what do? They have to go into bed with government. And the reason is simple. Government in Kenya is a big business. And that's why you will find we are discussing the same personalities here in, here out. So, for me, let's not lie to Kenyans. Kenyans are not stupid anymore. In fact, the Gen Zs have actually, shown us that we are no longer stupid.
Okay.
They can dig out facts about people. So, they can call it whatever you want to call it, broad-based government, but it's another handshake. And that is the genius of a failing political regime that cannot deliver on their promises. Okay. So you bring in the noisemakers. And who are the noisemakers? The biggest ones are ODM.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a chance to respond as I'll give you also closing remarks. Just 1 minute each. Yes.
Yeah.
Respond fast.
I really don't want to exchange with my good friend Ekuru, but I think he's a lawyer, a seasoned lawyer, and understands that for parties to be in a coalition, there must be a proper coalition instrument in place and deposited with the Register of Political Parties. Secondly, I have said that ODM is a leading party in the opposition, and we will continue playing that role of opposition. We have a series of activities which we are going to conduct around the country as the opposition party. And even our colleagues who've joined the government, we are going to oversight them. If Honorable Mbadi comes with a bill that is punitive, finance bill that is punitive, I tell you, ODM will be the first party to oppose. And that is ODM. That's what we are meant for. And when he talks about failure of opposition, I think we are equally to blame. Because, as you know, Trevor, my friend Ekuru, he is the party leader of Third Way Alliance, which is an opposition party. So I think he should also be telling.
We are not opposition.
Yeah, you are not in government. You are.
We have alternative way of doing things.
Yeah, so I think he should also be telling us what they are doing as Third Way Alliance to provide. But I brought Punguza Mizigo.
You opposed it.
On
you
this
killed
government.
it, and it will have helped
you know, in the last electoral cycle. Before the 2022 election, he declared himself as a leader of opposition and even formed a shadow cabinet.
But now you're the deputy party
how far did he go with that?
ODM. Is there disquiet in ODM as the deputy party leader?
Yes.
There is disquiet.
There is no disquiet in ODM. ODM is a solid, united political party all the time.
All right.
But at the same time, we allow our members to have divergent views.
All right.
We allow that democracy to thrive. But we have a way of always coming together and uniting behind issues.
Okay, Manzo, closing remarks, 1 minute.
Well, let me say that the country needs to be put in order. We are doing very badly. None of the demands of Gen Zs have met. Parliament has failed Kenyans. Executive has failed Kenyans big time. It's a high time. All things were put into perspective and we developed the country. There's no development going on in the country. Most of the projects have stalled and the president should utilize the funds of the country, the taxes of the Kenyans prudently, running around really. If he really wanted to help Baba, he would be meeting presidents who are his friends or on telephone with them, but not going to Nyanza. Now, if Baba doesn't go to African Union, he'll regret why he never helped him and why he had to run to Nyanza instead of going around Africa to help him.
All right, Ekuru.
And Nyanza will rebel against William Ruto because Baba will not get the position. Based on the qualifications I said, and also based on what Manzo is saying, the campaign for Baba to go to AUC is very cosmetic. It's meant to manage the political disquiet in the country so that I can continue going into slumber. And that's why, for me, I bring back the idea of 2018 handshake. Because Uhuru regime at that time knew that they are not able to fix some of the things that they promised Kenyans. And I see Ruto, and because Ruto was part of that regime, okay? But the only person who was able to mobilize, who has created a political pedigree over a period of time, and with a constituency that can actually disrupt the governance of a country, was Jacom. And therefore, what do we do? Bring in Jacom. Jacom knows he will not run in 2027. Also, he is not being honest here. He will not run. He will not offer himself. But William Ruto, in his wisdom or lack of it, he thinks that if I bring in now Raila in another fake handshake, like they did in 2018, then I will galvanize Luo Nyanza because I have betrayed the people of the mountain, you know? And so you can see the focus is Luo Nyanza and, of course, Western Kenya and of course, other pockets of the country. And the calculation is about how many votes I can get. But I want to throw a challenge to the Gen Zs. 8 million Kenyans did not vote in 2022. It is not the vote that Raila Odinga garnered. It's not the vote that Ruto garnered to win the presidency. So if we truly want to change this country, please go and register. And then go and vote on the day of the election. And protect your vote. And you will form the next government. This ujinga ya kuambiwa ati your tomorrow's leader must stop. When is tomorrow coming? When our real life struggles are today. School fees, education, health, unemployment, and all those things.
All right, so it's 1 minute, party leader.
Well, I think for me, Honorable Raila Odinga, who is my party leader, is a reputable African statesman. And he stands a high chance of winning the chairmanship of African Union. And we wish him well. And we need to take this as a Kenyan challenge. It is not a Raila Odinga challenge or ODM challenge. And wish him well. Secondly, ODM as a party will continue fighting for the people of Kenya. We are not there just to make noise, but offer credible opposition and provide checks and balances to to the Kenya Kwanza regime.
All right.
So the fact that a few of our members have joined there is not reason enough for us to say that we are in government. But we'll continue to play our role in Parliament and outside Parliament.
All right, gentlemen.
And I think our colleagues in the Azimio coalition needs to exercise some patience that Raila Odinga is not leaving us now.
Not when you have betrayed
He's
us.
going to leave us in February when he becomes the AU chairperson.
Why are you not leaving them?
Well, I don't think that is true.
Yeah.
In fact, I find them to have betrayed Raila, because I think the Raila's campaign to become the AU chairperson should not be a basis for them to say that they are now delinking from him.
Okay.
They will need Raila in 2027.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making time. Coming up next is Cooking Tips. Honorable Dan Manzo, Senator for Makueni, Honorable Godfrey Osotsi, Senator for Vihiga, and the Deputy Party Leader, ODM, and Dr. Kuro Court, Party Leader, Third Way Alliance. Thank you all for making time. Coming up next is Cooking Tips.